Hello everyone, myself Krishna. This is part 2 of for each activities in UiPath. In this video, I am going to explain about continue activity and break activity. So let's get started. Let's go to the UiPath Studio. In this flow, I have taken build data table and I have mentioned name and salary, and I am iterating each row in the data table. Right? Basically, continue activity and break activity we should use in the activity which is iterating the collection of items. It could be for each activity, while activity, do while activity, for each file in folder or for each folder in folder and so on. Let's discuss about continue activity. Basically, we would use the continue activity to skip any of the transactions. Let me create one scenario to demonstrate this continue activity. Here in this data table, we can have name and salary, and I wanted to process whose salary is greater than 25,000. Let's see how we can do that. So first thing, to check the condition, we would use the if activity. So here in this condition, I'm going to mention the expression convert dot 2 into 32 current row. The salary is available at salary column dot to string greater than 25,000, right? So if this condition is true, then we need to process the transaction. For that, I'm going to mention log message, and I mention the message as processing. Then I'm going to mention one more log message to display the salary of the employee. Then I'm going to mention one more log message, and I will mention process completed, processed. So if it is false, then I'm going to take one log message, and I'm going to mention the message as skip transaction. And here, for skipping the transaction, we need to use the continue activity, right? So what will happen if I execute this process? So it will iterate each row in the data table, and it will check the salary of the employee. If it is greater than 25,000, then it will go to the then block, then it will display the salary. If salary is less than 25,000 or equal to 25,000, it will come to the else block, and it will log the message, and it will continue for the next transaction. Let's run the process and see the flow. So the salary is less than 25,000. So it is skipping. If you see here, after else block, we can have log message. As we are using the continue activity, the flow won't go to the next step. It will go for the next transaction. See here. So here we can have skip transaction. After that, the transaction completed message won't be available. Now the salary is greater than 25,000, so it will go to the then block, and it will log the message, and then it will go to the transaction completed log message, right? Go to the output panel. So if you see here, 62,000 is this transaction has been processed, and 1 lakh and 45,000, and the remaining transaction has been skipped. So this way we can use the continue activity. break activity. Basically, we would use the break activity to come out of the loop. So here in the same scenario, I just wanted to come out of the for each activity if the salary is equal to 1 lakh. So here I mention the condition, the salary is equal to 1 lakh. Then it will go to the then block, and I have mentioned one log message stating that break. Then I'm going to take one break activity. So as soon as this condition is satisfied, it will come to this then block, then it will break the loop. So if the condition is not satisfies, then it will go to the else block, then it will display the each salary. So let's run the process and see the output. Before processing, let me open the build data table. So here we can have 5 transactions, and at the fourth row we can have a 1 lakh salary. So what will happen if I am execute this process? So it will process first three transaction, and at the fourth transaction the loop will going to break, and this last transaction won't be processed. So let me run the process. So if you go to the output panel, so we have 5,000, 62,000 salary and 25,000 salary. Now we reach to 1 lakh salary. So it is come to the then block. Then it will log the message break. Then it will break the loop. So if you see in the output panel, so the bot has been processed first three transaction, and at the fourth transaction, as the salary is 1 lakh, the loop has been break, and the last transaction were not processed. So this way we can use the break activity. Let's observe the properties for each activity. So here in this properties we can have a one out argument, that is a index. So basically it will return the current processing index. So let me create one variable index. Let me log this index value and run the process. Go to the output panel. So these are the indexes values. So max iteration. The max iteration will state how many transactions you wanted to iterate. So here in the data table we can have 5 transactions, but I just wanted to process only 2 transactions. So in the max iteration I am going to mention 2. So what will happen if I execute? It will process only first 2 transactions, then it will break the for each activity. So let me run the process and see the result. So if you go to the output panel, so if you see here 0 and 1, only 2 transactions were processed, right? So the condition. So basically this condition will execute so as soon as the condition is true. So basically the same way how we are using the if activity inside the for each is the same way we can going to mention the expression in this condition property. So as long as the condition is true, the iteration will continue. Once the condition is false, then it will break the loop. So let me write one expression here in this conditional property. Convert data to into 32, and dd input dot rows at index salary dot to string less than 25,000, right? So let me open the build data table. So the first transaction is 5,000. So it is 5,000 is less than 25,000. This condition is true. So it will process this first transaction. So the second transaction 62,000 less than 25,000, this condition is false, right? So it will break at the second index and it will process the remaining transactions. So let me run the process and see the results. Let's go to the output panel, and if you see here we have two index values 0 and 1. So as the second transaction is 62,000 is less than 25,000, this condition was false, so the for each activity has been break. So this is all about properties in for each activity and continue activity and break activity. Hope this video is informative. Thanks for watching this video. Have a nice day.